You're listening to Honey, We Made a Disney Podcast. Two friends since first grade, now dads reliving the Disney movies we grew up on with our own kids. I'm Eddie Ferguson.
And I'm JB Wagner, and on today's episode, we run longer and sleep less because it's the only way to review Iron Will. Eddie, we have finally come out of 1993. It's been a couple months. It was a long one, and it's not even. It's only going up from here. It's only going longer, like we said in the intro. It
is amazing that when you look back on Disney movies, you only maybe remember kind of some of the peaks, shall I say, some of the big ones. But to realize, no, they were in the 90s just cranking out movies, which was a big part of their strategy, and it worked for them.
Yes. And to remind you, listeners, if you are just joining us for the first time, why are we talking about 1994? That's because we are walking through all the movies, not our favorite movies, all of the movies from 1988 to 2005. I had a listener, actually a listener's mom, reach out to me today saying, hey, why I see you guys are jumping around, like, what are you guys doing? Why are you choosing these movies? It sounds like you don't like some of them, so why are you reviewing them? That's because we are doing all of them, every single one. I think, Eddie, you found this on D23's website, the official movie list.
Yes, so we went to the official D23, which is the Disney sanctioned fan club, and they list all of their movies based off of year. That was officially Walt Disney Studios films. So this is why there's a mixture of animation, live action, and especially in the 90s, this was something that they began to do more of, which was kind of their thought was, if we make more films at a lower budget, so lower risk, it increases the opportunity for us to kind of have those big runaway hits. And so in the 90s, they were just cranking out movies.
Yep.
And that's why we get bogged down in years like 1993 that just has a random assortment of all different types of movies.
Yep.
And we do the hard work for you, all our faithful listeners.
Yep.
And we watch these movies. Some we have seen, some we're like, what? That's a Disney movie?
Yes.
And we work through them, and we tell you our honest, true feelings and thoughts about them, so you can go watch them, or you can just enjoy us rambling on about them. But we finally move into a new year, 1994.
Yes.
What do you remember about 1994?
So we would have been 7 years old. Is that correct?
Yeah, we started second grade.
Second grade, Mrs. Miller's class out in the modulars.
Yes.
Man, I remember going to one of my first Pacer games that year. I remember learning cursive writing. I remember doing that at that time, learning how to do it for the first time. Not to say that I ever used that other than signing my name ever since, I don't even know, middle school, junior high, somewhere in there. We just stopped using cursive.
I remember 1994 was the beginning of my struggle with phonics and the English language as a whole.
There was a breaking point in that year for you.
It was like, yeah, this is going to be hard for the rest of my life. I'm just going to accept this as a second grader and move on. But luckily, Disney provided a significant amount of films to soothe me and bring me through them, one of which was the movie we're looking at here today.
Yes, they did. So in the year 1994, we like to give you a refresher, what politically, sports, entertainment, everything that was happening. So for sports, we had the Cowboys won the Super Bowl. The Rockets won their first of back-to-back titles. There was no champion in Major League Baseball because everybody was on strike and the year was canceled. There's rumors right now of things happening right now in Major League Baseball that we're hoping won't cancel it again. The World Cup was this year. Brazil won it, and they won it hosted in the United States. I believe it was Los Angeles area mostly where it was located at. And
that was
then
a big year. That was like
yes.
they say 1994 was the birth of soccer in the United States. Like that was the
big
year
year.
it became big.
It was huge. You know, also huge was the scandal of Tanya Harding.
I remember this.
I do not remember this happening, but I have watched the documentaries and the
I, Tanya.
Watched that, the hoot and hollering experience that was. But when she set out some goons to take down Nancy Kerrigan, physically try to take her out, that was what was happening in sports. And that's not the last crazy thing to happen that year. Eddie, take us through politics.
Where to even begin? This was the big Whitewater scandal with President Clinton. You had Haiti invaded so that democracy could be reestablished. But probably the biggest thing that happened politically was that Nelson Mandela becomes the president of South Africa, which was kind of the if there ever is an official end, but kind of the signaling of the end of apartheid there in South Africa. So that was a rather significant moment in political history.
Eddie, go ahead and take us through entertainment. I know you're dying to talk over this entertainment stuff, and I'll end us with the random stuff. But
so the first one is you gotta like "I Will Always Love You" by Whitney Houston came out this year, which was a pretty significant song. I was thinking of that even this weekend because it was the 30th anniversary of Whitney Houston opening the Super Bowl in Tampa with her rendition of the Star Spangled Banner, which is kind of the gold standard now. And I think most people kind of think like that's one of their favorite renditions they've ever heard. Interestingly enough, though, I found the NFL didn't want her to do that rendition. They thought it was too risky, that it was too different.
and thinking of it now, like because they played it over the weekend, like kind of let you revisit some of it, and it's way more tamed than the actual anthem was that they actually played to this weekend.
Right.
So it made zero sense.
So the big movie that came out, there was actually two rather significant. This is the year that Schindler's List came out. Spielberg gets his Oscar, and the highest grossing film of the year was The Lion King, which we will review here coming up. Be a pretty significant film there. But TV shows, Friends.
I'm rewatching Friends right now. Every time I get a little bit of an Amazon gift card, I buy another season of it to continue going. We got 4 or 5 seasons now.
It was on a streaming service
it's
for
on
a
HBO
while.
Max. It's on HBO Max now. It was on Friends. It was on Netflix.
Netflix. Sarah watched it while it was on Netflix. I just can never get into that show. Everybody tries to convince me and this or that.
Sorry.
I just can't do it.
Sorry, Eddie.
I'm just a How I Met Your Mother fan. That's my group of friends sitcom that everything. Yeah. And then you put in the notes here, Lamb Chops Play Along. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Have you never watched Lamb Chops Play Along, Eddie? You just need to Google
like
that
the
right
kids
now.
show?
The kids show. I saw it pop
Lamb
up.
Chops, yeah.
Lamb Chops. It launched in 1984. It released in 1994. And I just wanted to make sure that it did not go unnoticed.
Thank you for including that. That had no significant bearing on my life whatsoever.
It could have been in the random section, but there's a lot of craziness in there. The good stuff, we had Netscape Navigator was the first commercially successful web browser.
I love that it's successful web browser.
There's all kinds of caveats in here because I'm sure there was a web browser before this, but it was a big moment to get Netscape.
Sure.
Out into the world. And then we also have 2 not so fun ones. John Candy, he was in one of our previous films with Cool Runnings, May He Rest in Peace in 1994. And then we also had
huge loss.
But then also O.J. Simpson and the white Bronco chase that captured the United States. Eddie, do you remember this moment?
I do remember this moment. I remember being in gym class, and I think Mr. Bickley was our gym teacher.
Ooh.
And
from the
it was
recesses of your brain.
It was like playing on the radio. I remember just like playing in the gym and everybody asking about this. And like there was all of, this, commotion over it. And I remember not understanding, like, why is everybody all worked up about this? Why is this a big deal? And I guess still to this day, I'm just like, why was this a big deal? Why,
Have you watched any of the documentaries or dramas about it? It's riveting.
No.
It's riveting stuff.
Sure it is. Sure it is. The glove fit. What else do I need to know?
So because of how the verdict happened, you are not engaged with any of it. I
don't know. I just totally said that up because I heard that one time and
so you don't even know,
Eddie.
I want to challenge you to spend some time with O.J. Simpson versus America versus O.J. Simpson, or any of the long form content.
Challenge not accepted. To quote unquote. How I Met Your Mother for you.
Well, yeah, since you will not indulge me anymore on that, looks like we need to end our waltz through 1994. Waltz through, because I'm gonna pull out. I wish I had one, but I'm gonna pull out my golden gun so that we can get this episode started, because we are gonna be talking about Iron Will.
Cue the Disney-ish sound effect.
Okay, Eddie, let's talk about this IMDb description. Okay.
It's a good one.
A brave young man is thrust into adulthood as he and his courageous team of sled dogs embark on a grueling and treacherous cross-country marathon.
See, I thought you were going to go more like an early century radio announcer. A brave young man is thrust into adulthood as he and his courageous team of sled dogs embark on a grueling and treacherous cross-country marathon.
Yeah, that's what I should have done.
You could have gone both ways.
The transatlantic sound. I don't know if it's a big fan of that sound. I love old radio shows. So Iron Will, you obviously grew up with this film. I did not. We came from different places, but did we meet at the same place? That is what we're going to talk about today.
So to say that this is one of my mom's favorite movies is an understatement. Like, it is one that if it's not watched 2 or 3 times in the course of the year, like I'd be shocked if it's not.
There's a wellness check being called for your.
Yeah. I mean, it is a frequently watched film. It is one of my mom's easily top 10, if not higher. It was this last Christmas, I think we all like gathered and watched it together when we were all together. To introduce it to the kids. I remember when like DVDs were first coming around and stuff, and it was like, mom's like, you got to find me Iron Will on DVD. Got to find Iron Will on DVD. We had it on VHS. It was frequently watched. Now, we are huge animal lovers. We are very much kind of your dyed in the cloth dog people, right? So this movie pulls at all of those heartstrings.
I was expecting this to be more dog centric, but it's really not.
No,
it's very light on the dog side of things. I was anticipating another White Fang situation brewing, but it didn't. It went in a very different direction than I was anticipating.
You had no crazy wolf attacks. Let's just get that out of the way.
Yes, it held true to science.
This is important to you now.
Wolves do not attack human beings.
Don't.
They don't hunt them.
Don't lie
So
about
thank
wolves
you,
in your
whoever
films.
directed this. Thank you, Disney, for righting the wrongs of your past. I felt seen. Anyways,
Vindicated.
although when I popped in this movie and my wife walked by, her first question was, "Isn't this supposed to be the Balto movie story?" It's like, no, baby, this is not the. My wife, yeah, nope.
So to her question, what, a year and a half ago when Disney Plus came out, one of their first original films was a movie called Togo, which is the actual real story about the Balto race, which reveals to you Balto was like the last dog that did very little. He just happened to be the final one. Togo is the real hero dog in that. And it was actually a really good movie.
Yeah, no interest.
That's when we had like a big family moment. Like we watched Togo and then we were all like, oh, we have to watch Iron Will now. And we all watched Iron Will because we love our dog movies.
Yes. So staple in the Ferguson household. Big
that's well
film.
established now.
I know you're dying to know, did I enjoy this film or was I barreling just through it as fast as possible? Where do you think I ended up with this?
I think you ended up enjoying this movie.
Eddie. The first 10 minutes, first 15, 20 minutes.
Yep.
Hard out on it.
Sure.
By golly, something happened. And by the end of it, I was a wreck, an emotional wreck.
So
oh my gosh. I didn't want to like this movie and I did. There's things that I'm like, I know this is corny right here. I know these things or whatever. But when he is near that finish line, I'm just like, my heart. We'll come back to the moment that really, really sealed the deal for me. But yes, I thoroughly enjoyed this film.
Yes. And I agree with you. The beginning is a little slow getting going. And let's just be kind of crass about this. It's like as soon as the dad dies, boom, we're off to the races.
Sharp right turn. At the beginning, it's headed down a sappy route that, I mean, they're still sappy throughout this film, but like,
sure,
it's headed to a place where you're just like, I don't really want to necessarily be here. Then the dad dies and it's a night and day turn.
Right.
It's intense. You feel it. And then it just propels it forward. Cause he's kind of an annoying little kid up at the front. But he has this really not crazy, but strong transformation throughout. A lot of the characters are kind of a part of that as well. Just kind of like war of attrition to get to the end. Man,
no, you just kind of, you have this moment with the now disgraced Kevin Spacey, who shows up and kind of fronts the money for him to get into the race, and
he's just using it for headlines. Using
him for headline. But that just kind of that whole premise that gets set up in that ballroom scene immediately just kind of sets up a very interesting drama. You know, he's obviously out of his league. He could barely even get into it. Can he run the race, finish the race, win the race? But now it's, can he navigate all of the politics of this? Can he navigate this newsman who's obviously going to be using him and taking advantage of him to sell more newspapers? Like, how is he going to That's good drama, right? When you've got just so many different elements of conflict coming in and all of these things are mounting against your protagonist, and can he overcome such insurmountable odds? It just really builds the tension well.
Well, we even start off with it has a very Olympics feel because you've got all these people from all these different countries. I laughed audibly when the Iceland people, they had them. There's also they kept on calling them their champion, so a little bit of Harry Potter feel, a little bit Goblet of Fire, the Norwegian champion, the Iceland champion, all of those things. get the little bit of the Olympics, little America, like he's our American champion, trying to get to finish line, especially after the cowboy is out of the picture.
Right.
That was
Alone
kind of
American.
protecting him. But what really, really worked for me was the fact that it wasn't a boy with all these men just trying to get across Canada by themselves out in the middle of nowhere the whole time. The fact that they had to come into camp every night, kind of like one gave them sense of like, okay, now we're gonna regroup. We got new challenges, new, like you said, politics. And then they're able to recharge, figure out, okay, how are we going to do better tomorrow? And then go back out and start afresh. Instead of it just being one giant wilderness experience, you get that coming back in, and you get our people, who's going to come in first, who's going to come in last, where's everybody situated?
It gives the story a sense of just kind of pulsing, right? Of ebb and flow.
Out
it's like,
and in. It's
a good roller coaster where you kind of come up a hill, then you come down, and then you come up, and then you come down. This whole story structure just really, and it builds to that final moment. And I think once you get to that final moment, you've had such a roller coaster of emotions that when you get there, it's just like, what's going to happen?
I appreciated all of the different characters that they had in this film, from Kevin Spacey's character, Kingsley, like we had talked about, Bork, the main bad guy in this film. So you got Kingsley, Jonah, you see, who's one of the big financial backers for this thing. You see a turn for him where he's got his big line where he's like, when I look into that boy's eyes, I see myself, a dim chance and a bright hope. Like, it's got a little bit like sappiness, but you see his turn from the guy who was basically cheating him out of being in the thing to there. You've got Brian Cox's character, who is doing his best Brian Cox stuff, being the villain guy.
Oh yeah,
who's just like side dealing, wheeling, and trying to get him to take the bait to get out of the race in particular, so he can win. There's all. I just loved the fact that we got to have all these characters, even just the random guy. I think his name was Lenny. He's on the he's frozen on the sled, and he just comes straight in, and he like goes straight in, isn't moving at all. There was just so many characters to make this such a more interesting story than most of the wilderness trek dog sled movies. And there's so little time spent on the dog. There's a little bit with the white lead dog, but overall it's mostly a story about this boy and this kid just trying to get to the end.
Yeah, and I think that's any good coming of age story, or good adventure story, that it isn't monochromatic. It isn't just boy against nature. It is all of those different elements that we keep kind of talking about, of the loss of his dad, and how does a boy kind of step out of his dad's shadow and become a man on his own? How can he prove to himself that he is capable of such a huge physical task? How can he learn how to navigate people trying to take advantage of him, or people who are working against him? How does he work in, all of these things? It's just kind of that multifaceted aspect of the story just makes it come that more alive, that you're rooting for him, like everybody in the story eventually ends up rooting for him.
With a fruitcake and a homemade whistle. Iron Will.
Iron Will. There's some good lines in this.
I wrote down several. I'd write down several, but what were some of your favorites? I've kind of listed off a few of mine.
I always Ned is one of my favorite characters. I think he's, he gives, we gave it in the intro, but one of my favorites is run longer, sleep less. It's the only way you'll win.
Is that the Indian guy or no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh man. Can we just stop for a second and talk about when he drags him out of the house, throws him into the snow? Training starts now.
So let's talk about this. Every good Rise Above movie, right, has that training sequence montage,
the training montage.
We've talked about it in Mighty Ducks. We've talked about it in Cool Runnings. Here we see it in Iron Will. But this is like the gritty
Wild Hearts
one.
Can't Be Broken.
Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken as it. Yes.
Couple different montages. Two of them.
You've got the blind and the non-blind one.
Yep.
So, yes, you've got Ned. He's just this wonderful character.
I tried writing down some of the things he was saying, but he was talking so fast and giving so much information. I couldn't keep up, and I had to stop trying to type it.
So one of my favorites is Will ask him, how do I know who to trust? And Ned's response is, trust the dogs.
Of course he says that.
What a line. Come on.
Always trust the dog, except
Always.
if you don't like dogs like me, then don't trust them.
Yeah. What else did you write down?
His thing, the first day you sleep 5 hours, then 4 hours, then 3, then 2, then 1, then you don't sleep.
Like, you're going to win by total exhaustion. And you see it. You see it at the very end where it's like he falls asleep halfway through.
Yeah. I loved how everyone was freaking out over $100 and sabotaged themselves just to win that random bet. Like, so many people lost out on that whole thing on day one because they tried to be the first one down that hill.
Yeah.
You dumb idiots. Like, seriously.
Oh, my quotes just left me.
Oh, another one. I'll wager $5,000 he doesn't make it. I'll take that bet with Jonah. But definitely one of the best moments. One of the most earned moments. The whole time I'm watching Kingsley do his thing, I'm like, this is too much using Will for his, like, at some point Kingsley has to have his comeuppance moment where even though he's on the right side, he's doing it for all the wrong reasons. At some point he has to have that moment, and Will comes in and he's already just like beat up on Bork, and then he goes up and he just like lays into Kingsley, and then and then the guy's like, I'm trying to find it. So he punches in, and then he said, "What's tomorrow's headline going to be, Mr. Kingsley?" It was such an earned moment, and I thought that would be the end of it. And then of course Kingsley then has his like, oh, I just realized what I've been doing, and he comes to help Will in the end, right? To help him get out from being, or I guess he is doing the blackmailing. I don't know what's going on for Brian. But
brings his mom, brings Ned to the finish line. You know, yes, you see a full kind of redemption of Kingsley as a whole.
Yeah, a line that probably isn't going to be in a 2020 version of this film. I'm putting the mother and the Indian on the train to St. Paul. Don't tell the kid. Probably not gonna phrase it like that. Just no, I guess.
No, we would be a little bit more sensitive.
Just a little bit. But yes, so that was one of the big moments, was that whole barroom where he just like, he comes at Bork and he's just like, I'm not afraid of you. I'm coming. Like, he needed that moment of like, I feel like that was his I'm a man moment. Not that driving through the wilderness on a sled wasn't man enough, but like, he had that, like, I'm not a boy anymore. I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to sit and cower to you.
He stands up for himself.
Pulls out the gun. He's like, you come near me, I will, whatever. That was such an awesome, cool, like, yes, that's the moment we were waiting for.
And I think all of these just kind of keep building to that final moment at the finish line, right? Like, and that is, please tell me, like, you were whistling Will's tune on the couch,
Eddie,
as you were watching this.
I was just yeah. Sorry, you gotta do it one more time. Yeah, when he's like falling over and he can't, and the little kid is like, "Come on, Will," and then someone starts saying, "Get up, Will." he starts singing it. I'm just like, I'm getting chills right now. Just like,
I know everybody starts whistling it,
and then he's just going and going. Man, that they drug
and
that.
the dogs are pulling them. Gus
Oh.
turns around and Gus is pulling on it, trying to get him to go. Everybody's just rooting for him.
It's the ending I wanted for Cool Runnings, but we didn't get that right. We got the they crashed. I know it's based on a true story, so they had to do a real. Oh, this is a question. I forgot to look this up. Is this based on a true story or is this all fabrication?
This is inspired by
so
a true story.
There was once a dog sled team, and that's how the story got made.
And there was a guy, Campbell, I think was his last name, who did run the race. And he used the winnings to save the family farm. Like the big
there was something
pieces of the story are there. The actual kind of Will Stoneman, he's fictional, and kind of the intricacies of the story. But yeah, it is very much inspired. No, I mean, that ending just gives you chills. It is a very, inspiring, rousing.
What did you think of Bork being attacked by his dogs? Felt a little unearned. It felt like a little bit like of all the things that would have happened, like the dogs kind of felt coming like after him.
I felt like it was also expected. It was almost, you saw him disrespect them so much, always push it, and that final kind of push there. He's whipping the dogs the whole way through and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. What I find odd is that he takes Will with him on the shortcut and that Will chooses to go with him. That every time I watch that, I'm always a little like, really, you would follow him through this? But you get that.
I think it's because he realized that he needed some way to get to the front of the pack because he was so far behind that was the only way that he could win was to follow him down that way. What was funny was all of the moments where they bring him out by water and by the ice and he chooses to go the long way. He does that two or three times throughout the film. So then this moment they're like, you're going to have to finally do it. So I thought he was going to be crossing a lake or something like that. He doesn't. He just travels next to water. And it was like, I know that it's similar to the way his dad died, but it didn't have the same effect of like, you have to physically cross the water. He's just like sliding next to it. And I was like, I wanted a little, and you can't even see the water in a lot of the shots. I wanted more of that on that final moment.
Go watch Togo then, because there's this epic scene of the sled going across like a bay, like a fjord, and there's like the chunks of the ice are lifting up and they're like catapulting off of it and sliding onto another piece of ice, and like they really play it up huge
a little bit, yeah.
in Togo. But you get your like crossing water on a dog sled moment in that movie. So yeah, here it's like,
he's
I don't know.
Next to it, yeah.
But neither of us have ever done much dog sledding in our life. We don't know how hard that is to keep a dog sled from sliding in the water. Could be really hard.
Could be really, really hard. We will never know.
We don't know.
We will never know because I will never
know. You'll never do a dog sledding?
I will never be doing dog sledding.
I just immediately get this image of us trying it, but I put you in the basket and I'm the guy on the back, and you're just like, you've got like a blanket and you're all just like snuggled up.
I would look like
and you'd be miserable. You'd be miserable, like all snuggled.
All you could see is my nose and it's bright red.
And I would be in the back being like, JP, isn't this so cool? And you're like, why? No. Why did I let you convince me to do something else this stupid?
I would never knowingly choose to go to a winter location. If I have the choice. That's what you
pull out about this is the winter location.
Well, because it's February right now. It's cold. I just looked on my weather app. It's going to be a low of 5 degrees this week for us. I know
it's freezing.
It's colder for you up in Indiana. Like that's why I left. That's why I left 10 years ago today. Not today. 10 years ago this month is when I left and moved to California out of...
I was going to say, if it was today, that would be like, whoa, we've
No.
got to celebrate.
I moved to California 10 years ago. I no longer live there now, but I'm still south.
The ground, we have a solid sheet of ice, and then there is snow on top of that. That snow is frozen. Like, it's not soft in any way. It's hard frozen snow. And then it is flurrying snow right now as we speak, putting another dusting on top of it.
Nope.
And right now, it is a balmy 16 degrees outside. So,
I'm getting way colder just thinking.
But we're getting down to -9 within the next week.
Is it going to be a polar vortex again? We'll be looking at another polar vortex?
I sure hope not. That'd be awful.
Suck.
So that makes us appreciate what Will Stoneman went through here and why he gets frostbite. That's another great one when they all like show off their frostbite wounds.
If you get any frostbite, tell me which one and I'll cut it off.
Your pee freezes before it hits the ground.
Okay, Eddie. We have reached the finish line of this review. What are we rating this?
Isn't it obvious? It's a full 5 from me. Full 5. 5 glorious, wonderful gummy worms.
It's getting 5. I don't know how I can go less than going up to gummy worms out of fruit snacks. Like, it doesn't.
It's that ending, right?
The ending, yeah.
You were probably, I'm gonna guess, you were like a solid 4, like building each 15 minutes. Another fruit snack gets added, and we hover at 4 for a while, and then that ending, you're just like, oh.
My only thing is that I don't have the nostalgia factor for this film, like many of the other ones that we gave 5. So I'm gonna keep it at fruit snack level. Like it surpassed my expectations. It's not the extra level of gummy worms that like bring me back to my childhood and bring back all the other memories. This is a new experience. So we're gonna keep it for 5.
Do you foresee bringing the family in, watching this together? A little bit more family friendly than Three Musketeers.
Just slightly. Yeah, no, I definitely think so. I think especially as my son gets a little bit older and kind of is more understanding what's going on, I think he'll really enjoy this film when we revisit it here in the next couple of years.
And like I've mentioned a couple times, if you want to see what they would have done if they made this movie nowadays, you can go check out Togo, because it's a very similar but different story. In Togo, it's like a race to bring a vaccine to a rural village in Alaska. And there they just really ramp up these epic dog sledding moments. That one's a little bit different because it's not so much other people are antagonistic. It's all nature. It's like the race against time and nature, but it's still really good. Willem Dafoe is in it. He's a great actor. If his
dad wasn't dead, there's no way
he wouldn't have done it.
He's not doing this. He'd already made up his decision. He wasn't going to do it. His dad wasn't going to do it. So this whole, none of this, I probably would have forced myself just for the sake of this podcast to finish that story.
Mm-hmm.
This way better story, way better ending, way better journey.
Yeah. And I think the unintended moral consequence here is that you will get something out of life by sleep deprivation. Science proves you otherwise, that you need sleep. Don't run longer and sleep less. It will it will kill you, as it almost did Will.
Also, do whatever you can, almost kill yourself for money.
Yes,
it's a great one too. But it's but we gotta save the family farm. Any dad tips in this, Eddie?
Teach your kid how to whistle.
Yes,
that's an important trait. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to take the time to teach them how to build furniture, I think you could take a few free seconds to learn how to whistle.
I would say, you're going to teach your kid to do something, you got to start by throwing them face first in the snow. Brush a little snow on it, and then start your montage. That's how all good montages start. But thank you so much for listening to this episode. Honey, we made a Disney podcast. We have got so many more films coming. Like we said at the top, this is the beginning of 1994. We've got
some great movies.
Films. Yes.
Good ones. Starting with next week's. Did you grow up watching this one? Is this one you remember?
I watched it once before.
This was not like an absolute favorite.
I remember seeing the trailer for this.
But it's a really good one. We will be reviewing Blank Check, which examines what happens if you give a middle schooler way too much money.
So we're going a hard right from the battling nature and stuff like that to what if you gave a kid a bunch of money?
Right, which is the antithesis of our childhood.
Yes. In a word, yes. Yes. But thank you for listening. Please go on to iTunes, whatever, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever, and please rate us. Please give us 5 stars, whatever you want. We won't tell people what to give, but we would love some 5-star ratings. Please let us know what you think about it.
I'll tell you what to give. Give us 5 stars or don't give us anything.
Eddie has less morals at this very moment. He will tell you that. But thank you so much for listening to this episode.